Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening for Miss Dayu and everyone that is watching my video. So today we will present the next base skills of teaching. There is classroom management skills, okay? But before that, allow me to introduce our group members. Okay, the first one is me, Siluh Putu Sisylia Paramitha, and I'm not alone here. I'm with my partner, Putu Gede Arimbawa. So, without any further ado, let's start this presentation. Okay, to start this presentation, I will invite you to answer this question first, okay? So, what is the question? The question is, what the difference between management and instruction? So, let's think for a second for the answer this question, okay? So, let's look the answer here. So, this is the answer. The difference between instruction and class management. So, giving an instruction includes all activities that are directly intended to achieve the specific objective of teaching. What about classroom management? So, class management are activities that create and maintain optimal condition for the learning process to occur. So, the question now is, can we separate both of them? The answer is big no. Why? Because both of them are interrelated. Because to achieve the learning goals, we need effective and meaningful classroom management. So effective classroom management is an absolute prerequisite for an effective learning process and to laying the foundation and preparing the condition. An effective learning process include regulating students and setting up the facilities in the learning process. Okay, are you still confused? It's okay. Now let's look more further about class management. All right, this is the statements from expert. You can see these statements from Weissman and Hunt. So the first statement is teachers are mostly expert in subject they teach, but very often teachers have problems with disciplines. And the second statement is to be successful teachers must be able to establish appropriate students' behavior in their classroom in order to maximize the time that they and their students spend on learning. So, those statements in order to the class management skills. From those statements, we can conclude classroom management is intended to provide students with more opportunities to learn all of the things that our teachers or lecturers does to organize students, organize space, time, and materials so that students' learning can take place. And students should be able to carry out their maximum potential, which allows students to develop appropriate behavior patterns. And teachers must deal with unexpected events and have the ability to control students' behavior using effective classroom management strategies. And effective classroom management can create a positive classroom climate. So positive classroom can construct an essential goals for all teachers, because here you must remember is the teacher is not just about the facilitator of the learning material, but here teacher be a leader or manager in the class. So from those explanation, we can elaborate here are the first one is the categorize of classroom management skills. The second is the error in managing class. And the last is the principle in managing class. Okay, for the first and second material will be explained with my partner. So for my partner, time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the chance given to me, Sisylia. So the next explanation will be explained with me, and I will explain about the categories of the classroom management as skill. So according to Australia 2010, page 74, as code in the micro teaching program 2012, categorizes classroom management skill into two parts. Namely, the first one is skill that aim to create and select learning and teaching activities in optimal condition. So the first one is shows attention to student. Student can feel that teachers or instructor are always there with them and know what they are doing. And in this case, the teacher can observe the class approach students, ask them questions, and react to noise caused by students. And the second one is divide the attention to all students. So good classroom management is shown by the effectiveness of the attention given to student fairly. And this can be done both visually and verbally. And the third one is provide clear instruction. And the fourth is address students who have problem verbally. So addressing problem student verbally and effectively using the following criteria. The first one is make instruction explicitly and clearly directed at students who are making noise. And the second one is avoid harsh or bullying statement. And the third one is avoid unnecessary conversation. And the last one is provide reinforcement. And this can be done for students who create and do not create problems. And the last one is provide reinforcement. So the next is okay. Next slide is about class management skill to maintain optimal learning conditions. So this is related to the response of teacher or instructors to students who make problem continuously. They make improvement to revive optimal learning conditions. And according to Australia 2010, page 75, in the micro teaching program 2012, page 75, states several strategies that can be applied by teachers in managing the classroom, including the first one is modifying behavior. So in this case, teachers or instructor make a list of students' negative behaviors, choose appropriate norms to overcome these behaviors and make them target and remedial programs, work with partner and counselors, choose students' behavior that must be changed and provide various variations, strengthening. So the second one is managing groups. This can be done by taking a problem-solving approach guided by teachers or instructors in order to speed up assessment and maintaining group work. And the last one is finding and solving problem. So in this stage, the teacher rejects what has been plain is involved in dealing with students a problem and supervises directly, understand what makes student behave negatively, solve problem, rearrange problems in learning, and eliminate searches of problem. And the next, I will explain about the mistake in managing class. So the following mistakes in managing class must be considered by teachers or instructors. The first one is the teacher is too much involved in the problem of the students. So the second one is the silence of the teachers can break attention of the students. And the last one is the way of opening or set introductions and closing or closure is not appropriate. So teacher or instructors talk something out of the learning objective, and the teacher discuss of the same things over and over again, making a long-winded explanation and discussing things that are not important in the learning process on an ongoing basis. So maybe that's all for me. So for the next explanation will be explained by my partner Sisylia. For Sisylia, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Arimbawa. So I will continue the presentation now. So here, I will explain about the principles in managing class. So after you learned about the categories of classroom management and the error of managing class, and here I will give an information about what is exactly the principles in managing class. This is from Sabri, according to Sabri, as quote in micro teaching program, describe several principles of classroom management. So the first one is sympathy and enthusiasm. The second is challenge. The third is variation, and then flexibility, and after that positive, and the last is self-disciplines. So the first is sympathy and enthusiasm. Here, the teachers, instructors, and lecturers can create interesting learning activities to increase students' sympathy and enthusiasm in learning process. This is kinds of teacher challenge to create an interesting learning activity based on students' needs. But here is not just about the interesting learning activity, but teachers who are warm, familiar, and humble with students always show enthusiastic about their duties or activities will succeed in implementing classroom management. So, for example, in this micro teaching class, Miss Dayu, as our lecturer, give free space for us to show our problem, and together we find the greatest way to solve our problem. So, this kind of activity is increase our enthusiasm and decrease our anxiety and boredom in learning activity, of course. Okay, the second principles is challenge. So the use of challenging materials will increase students' willingness to learn so as to reduce their negative behavior and the use of words, action, ways of working or material for the attention of students to learn, thereby reducing the possibility of deviant or disruptive behavior. For example, using cooperative learning model such as peer teaching, so they can learn with their friends and try to teach other students. And the challenge like this can distract them and avoid them to do a negative things. And then the third is using variation. So, by providing variation in the use of media, styles, and teaching interaction, teacher, instructors, and lecturers can manage the class well and avoid boredom. This principle is quite similar with challenge before, so the use of tools or media or aids, teaching styles, and interaction patterns will reduce the appearance of distraction and increase students' attention. For example, in some time after 30 minutes of teaching, teacher give an ice breaking such as games that relate to explanation before. And then the next is flexibility. So flexibility in the learning process can avoid students' problem and create an effective learning atmosphere. So as we hear, this class is really flexible. Ms. Dayu give us space to contribute in the regulation in the class, like what the media can we use, the due date of the assignment, and etc. Okay, the flexibility of behavior can to change teaching strategies can prevent the possibility of interference in students and create a learning climate and effective teaching, and this can increase students motivation. And next is positive. So what is meant by positive here is the teacher must emphasize positive things during the implementation of the learning process. Emphasis on positive things is basically teaching and educating, emphasizing positive things and avoid students' attention on negative things. For example, teacher always conduct us with positive motivation and positive activity and etc. Okay, and the last one is self-discipline. So the development of self-discipline is an important goal of classroom management so that teachers should encourage students to be disciplined. Teacher, instructors, and lecturers must be a good model or example for the students. Therefore, teachers is flexible or humble, but teacher must show their firmness to be a manager in the class so that students is not arbitrarily against the teacher and the rules in the class. So from some of the principle, it can be concluded there are several principles that must be applied in classroom management, as I explained you before. Okay, so um, that's all about the classroom management skill as a part of micro teaching skills. And we know the conclusion is the classroom management is an important activity that is planned and deliberately carried out by teachers, lecturers, and students with the aims of creating and maintaining optimal condition so that it is hope that the learning process can run effectively and efficiently so that the objectives of the learning process are achieved. Okay, this is the end of our presentation. So now it's time for you to give a comment, suggestion, critic, or question for this topic. So now it's time is yours. Thank you for your attention.